Art Daddy. That's right. Sarah Fourtails asked me to red pen this piece of art. And originally I was going to say something like she was taking a math test and you writing in 42 is the answer. But not including your work, so I have no idea where you're coming from. I do see that there is in fact some sketching, so I can kind of see what you're doing. I don't know what program you're using, but layers are your friends. We want as many layers as we can get. My intention is not to redraw this, just hopefully help you. So I'm gonna guess that this is a sketch that is trying to work into something more. I would hope that this is not the finished piece that you're moving into. Yeah, hopefully this is just a rough idea, image composition that you're trying to get into your sketching. So that all being said, I'm not going to beat you up too much on composition. It's very clear as to what you're trying to do. Right? Yep. Alright. Alright, so first things first, knowing what you want to do is great, and so I'm going to imagine that this is what I have in my head that you want done. First thing that I will tell you is if you have reference material for what it is that you're trying to draw, all the better. Second thing I would try to tell you is don't kill yourself on detail this early in the game. Not only does it clutter things, but you haven't even figured out your anatomy yet, or your layout, or what is happening in this image. I mean, you have, but where everything goes or is supposed to go. So what I'm going to do is at least benchmark what you have here, okay? And we're going to be messy because that's all that matters is we're roughing it. We want to rough this image. We do not care about detail. Also, I like your sketches here, but again, let's go real big. You want to block out everything. Alright, this is what you're working with. Always squares. You can use this for perspective. I see what you have here. If that's what you want to do, you can do that. Get your big perspective lines in here. If that's what you're working with. I'm a big fan. Also, I don't know if it's true, but like you can kind of tell which way a person draws by the way the picture leaves. I want to say you're right-handed, but that's just me. Okay. Again, we're going blocky. Yes, we need to at least conform to what the rifle is. I understand that this is some sort of G3. Again, reference material if you don't know what it looks like off the top of your head. And we're not getting into the weeds with our details. We have no interest in them unless it's blocking. Okay? And notice how I'm keeping my big, beautiful, big blocking here. Comes down, and we're going to block out some more for the rifle. And move my perspective lines here. Great. Notice how I am concentrating on the rifle right now. Why is that? Because that's what you are concentrating on. It is the focal point of this image is your rifle. This is what you want everyone to concentrate on. It isn't the character, that's for sure. I'm sure it's important to you, but the rifle is everything. So we are going to block this out first. And again, I'm using your artwork as a reference. We're going to turn this off real quick. We're going to see what we got. I need to work with what we got. Just get a nice lighting here. We need to see what's happening. I only have an hour. So, boom. Great. Barrel's not important to me right now. It's not even in the image. I'm going to try to block this out a little more now that I can see. Oh, I'm drawing on the wrong layer. Layers are important. Alright. Art Daddy says layers are important. Alright. Alright. Boom. We have our rifle. Boom. Hey, that doesn't look like a G3. Boom. Shut your mouth. It's not important. We just want to block out. The barrel is not important to me. Yes, I know this is a G3. Yes, we can add circles if we want to. But I'm telling you right now, at this stage of the world, there's no reason to kill ourselves with details. I understand that this is a claw mount, whatever, but none of that matters. Right? I don't need to start adding the turret of the... None of this matters. Alright? The only thing that I'm going to care about is where the rifle is going. Woo! I do not need 2,000. 70, 5 smaller. All that is important in this moment is our blocking. We don't care about anything else. Yes, that's a fuzzy brush. Yes, that's stupid. And we'll say this is a PSL. Because if it was a G3, it would be like this little 1x scope that came for the German rifle. And that the Bundeswehr would use. And so but that's what the drawing is. So that's all that matters. So bing. It's going to erase all this other shit because here's what happens. Even in a pencil sketch, shit gets crowded real quick. And then when you do your final inking, you are going to have a hard time trying to figure out which was a detail line and which was a sketch. Alright? So, we have our rifle blocked out. Nothing else matters. Probably could use a lasso and just delete all this, which is the smart thing to do. No. Stop it. Stop it. Son of a bitch. What fudge is my thing doing? I don't know why it won't work. This pisses me off. I'm trying to do a thing, and now the computer doesn't work. There. Oh, come on. Oh, because it's stuck here. Control Z. Thank you. Ah! Editor. Selection. Brush tool. Oh, come on. Come on. No. What the hell? Where is my lasso? There we go. Thank you. Great. Delete all that. Thank you. I'm the expert here. I am the self-appointed art daddy. Yes, I'm trying something new. Who knows? This might be a thing. Alright, blam, because that's what's important to the original drawer. Great. Now, what's the next important thing? Oh, this Cabot character. Cat. Gonna go with cat. It's a cat. Great. I'm gonna change my colors because I don't like mixing up my sketch lines. Green is the easiest color the human eye to pick up. Again, we're gonna use your homework for showing of the work. I'm not gonna tell you not to. Alright. Now where to? Well, what am I concentrating on? I'm going to concentrate on what is interacting with my other object. That's all we care about. That's all we care about. Because everything else in here is not important. So much so that we are going to minimize it to the point where it is almost not. Alright, this is where the RedPenning comes in, so pay attention. Anatomy, because the gun, your guy, I'm guessing you're a dude. Gun, penis, important, much important. So it is the primary part of your artwork here. Do not get caught up in your details. You need to block out everything. You've done some homework here, showed your work, but like it's not helping you in any way. You're not centering your eye line off of any of this. You're not using this for your blocking of where your nose is or anything along those lines. So this doesn't help you at all. You don't have any emotion lines, so you don't know how your facial expressions are going to be. You don't know how far apart your eyes are supposed to be. Well, I can't see his eyes, so it's not important. Well, it does. It is important. Then that affects what the rest of the face looks like. Alright? And I'm not going to do anything because I'm not going to guess on what's happening because then that's how you get a shoulder blade over here somehow. I don't know what this is, but is this another shoulder? This is how you guess. And even if you don't know anatomy, you do know where things are supposed to be. So let's go on the basis that we don't know anything anatomy. Let's just do our blocking. I'm guessing that this is a relaxed non-action pose, so he's not running into a building or dodging something. He's just casually shooting this rifle, and all we're going to do again is block things out. Why is this important? because then we know where things are. We know where our center lines of our body is. It never stops. You will always do this work first, because if it's going to be muscular, you're going to come down from there. If it's not, I mean, all of this bases how your artwork gets put together. And so if you don't have a good foundation, then how are you supposed to add the detail work? So we have our circle for our hands. That's how we learn. And we're going to have a wrist into the arm. Boom, and there's our elbow, and here's our shoulder. We're going to keep that good. Boom. So far, so good. I mean, this is B+ area. Everything seems to be exactly where it needed to be. Where you got lost was over here, and I don't really understand, and that's fine. Artists have this roadblock in their head that they need to show everything. Otherwise, the viewer won't know. And I can tell you from experience, your imagination as the viewer is going to fill in most of the blanks that you can't see. So you don't need this elbow. There's no chicken wings out here. I don't need to see the forearm other than to know that that's where the elbow is. And that's going to go back in to into the arm. That's it. I don't know what all this is for. It's not necessary. What I would say is, if this is a gap in the rifle, which we already know it is, especially when I turn this back on, okay, what we can do is just raise this hand up a little bit so that it's doing stuff appropriately. So far, I haven't defined any details yet, right? Is it important? Not unless it restricts or confines the character in some way. Then it needs to be sketched out because it is important. Because the character cannot move in that direction. Or is blocked in some way by another character. So there, we now have good anatomy and blocking. I don't know if this is a muscular character, I don't know if this is a thin character, I don't know anything about this character other than it is most likely a cat, and that whiskers are important for sure. Okay, so now we're going to turn off the original art and we're going to go with what we got here. Are we going to start erasing things? No, because you always need that information. You can turn it off if it's in your way. Alright, second thing. I've only learned this recently. Black and white, stop using them unless it's a background or it's artificial. Nothing should be purely white and nothing should be purely black. Never use pure white or pure black. Even if it's a snowman, how do you highlight an all-white character? Well, if it's pure white, you can't add to that in any way. So it needs to be less than pure white for you to add pure white to it. Same thing with black. You can't get darker than black. So unless you're doing an exact, a black and white image, just come back off of it a little bit. That's all. That's all I'm getting at here. I've only recently brought this in. So instead of being all the way down here in perfectly black territory, just come up a notch if you need to. Come up a lot of notch, because then you can at least shade things. You're not going to notice a difference. It might be a little purple. It could be a little brown, depending on where you are in the spectrum. But G3 rifle. Now, I know what a G3 rifle looks like. Thank you very much. I've owned many in my lifetime. I played with them, but we're just going to take this as what it is supposed to be. So we're going to save this image as and put it in here into my pictures so that we will have some reference material. There is nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with having reference on a new layer that we can directly look at so that we don't fuck things up. Alright? It doesn't mean we go one for one in the copy, but it at least allows us to continue on in the blocking. So here's our rifle. What we're going to do is we're going to add another layer. This layer's a crate, and if you want to bunch these up because they're together, we can put them in a folder if you have this ability, and we'll just say rifle on this so we keep them separate. Great. Here's our new layer because it's not doing anything. We're going to keep it in the blue, and that way I can just keep things separate. Alright. Great. What are the key features of this? We're not in detail land, but we are getting close. We got our gas block, our gas tube, our reciprocating tube. It's going to go, here's a good thing. Alright. Is there a big gas block in front of the magazine? Sure is. Oh, here's another detail line that has an angle to it. Great. Oh, the magazine's not actually straight up and down. It comes out forward. Great. I haven't done much yet to change that. Woo! Great. There's the chamber. Wow, this doesn't seem to be because the gun is too short, right? The gun seems to be way too short to be a G3. Say it's a 51. Because now this has a double block all the way down. Double tube, receiver. We haven't added any details yet. We are just blocking things out. This is where perspective gets hard, because now we need to match up things. Like, for sure the magazine, this is where artwork starts to disappear from reality because the two don't match up. You are not building a CAD file. You just want to get the basics across to your viewer. If the goal is to be 100% accurate too, you're going to hate yourself long term. You can exaggerate certain things and you can forget other things. Why? Because your body, your eye, your mind is going to make those, fill in those blanks. Again, your goal is one for one these things. You're going to be here a long time. You're just trying to convey some good old artwork. Great. Now I am adding some details. I am. When they're important. And when does that happen? When I choose to do so. It's completely arbitrary. Again, this is not a finished piece. We do not care about finished artwork. We're not even there yet. We haven't even done any inks yet. See, this is where the details will kill you. I would not get all that into the weeds until you can get to a point where it doesn't matter to you anymore. I know I just said a whole bunch of vagaries, and this video is breaking down, and I'm not saying anything, and this is the point where the guy on the TV show all of a sudden finishes the Mickey Mouse, and you're like, how the fuck did we get there? All I'm doing at this point is trying to match the reference material as best as possible so that when I do finally turn off the blocking and start drawing, see, like, there's no reason for me to add any of these details into the handle because you're not going to see any of them. I'm going to add like stuff so that, but like even my trigger was wrong on the blocking, right? It was this big trigger guard, and this is where the reference comes in. I didn't have reference before, now I do have reference. Great. Can't see the magazine extractor, that's not important. There's the bolt following line, great, goes all the way to the front. Boom. I know there is a ridge here for the claw, and I'm only drawing a line here so that we can fudge some stuff. Look, this is where fudging comes in. I don't need to know what the claw thing looks like. I don't need to draw in all the mechanisms for it because it doesn't matter. It doesn't. You can't fit it all in here anyways, or at least in this image I cannot fit it in. But we know what it is, and anyone who knows what a G3 is going to be like, oh yeah, that's the claw now. Oh, very good. But what it does do is it defines where the scope is. So I don't remember where you put the scope. I'm sure I can put it up again and show it off. But yours is way too forward, according to the reference material. And we're going to stick with the reference material. Light back up. So your turret is going to be around here somewhere in your giant fictional scope. Doesn't mean anything. This is where you can start noticing that you might have a problem with your image layout, where now if this was, say, a commission where I needed to make sure the 9-headed cat had every one of its heads be visible, that I am not giving the artist, the commissioner, what they're asking for because you can't make out the character if that is what is important. If it isn't important, and the rifle was always the star of the video, then so be it. Don't forget to erase shit that isn't important to you. It will start to clutter. Things are getting cluttered, right? Things are getting cluttered. Because now the rifle, this isn't even important. This can literally get deleted because, well, it doesn't need to get deleted. I can do that. There. We can at least just turn it off because we'll get back to it when we do detail work, right? That's what we're going to do. We're going to do some detail work at some point. I'm not, but you might. We got our giant scope, and this is where backing off of your, when you do your final ink, where you're going to back off and allow the computer to do what computers do. And what I mean by that is coming over to the circle tool and no fill please and black, right? And you're gonna just let the computer make circles and then just change circle and let the computer do what it was. That, and then you can copy and paste this and match all your circles that you're going to see and that way they don't change and are in different orientations every single time. Let the computer do what it's good at and you are not good at, which is straight lines like the barrel. If you notice, I haven't really fucked with this barrel, and that's because I'm going to come over here and I'm going to use the line tool to do that. I'm just going to take this line tool, whatever my, and I'm just going to draw those lines from the same point so that they're nice and straight and I don't have to fuck with them. Alright, I'm going to let the computer do what it's good at so that I don't have big, curvy, awful lines. Assuming you're using Photoshop. Alright? I spend most of my time redrawing everything 2 or 3 times. That's just me. Okay, so we have something that looks like a G3 rifle for the most part. If we really wanted to get into the weeds, we could do that. Put our sling mounts on there, and we could put the slings on there, but we're not gonna get that deep. Just doing what you asked. So we're going to turn off our big blocking, and we're going to come in here and add the details that we're in the blocking. Everything else looks fine. Everything is exaggerated, and this rear sight, you're not ever going to even see it, so there's no reason for it to even be there. The claw mount covers it. To be honest, the rear spring cover isn't even important because we're going to just say that perspective eliminates that, and the hand is going to cup. Like, you might be like, oh, this is awful. This doesn't look at all correct. But your character's hands are going to be. It doesn't matter if it's off as long as it's close. Don't get beat up on the minutia. Because most of the time, it's not important. I could have told myself that. Get the big strokes. Now, look, if you're drawing, again, this is a good example because it's a G3 and that is what you are trying to convey. But like, you don't need pins unless you want to clutter your image to that point where you're showing off how well you can or cannot draw a G3. If that's the goal, then yeah, get in here and get crazy. But at what point are you doing a piece of artwork, and at what point are you doing a CAD drawing? Like, do you want someone to be like, oh yeah, that's a G3 rifle? Great. Guess what? I'm still sketching. We're going to do this all over again when we do the inking. So, unless it's important, why am I wasting my time right now cleaning up these sketches, right? Just because I don't want to do it anymore? And if that's the case, then even as the original artist, you need to step back, take a breather, go work on something else, and come back when you do want to. Because then you start having shortcuts and you start drawing on layers that you shouldn't be drawing on, and putting work and time into a layer that is supposed to be just a sketch line, sketch area, right? Now, I know, and you know, that right here is the chamber of the rifle. But let's force perspective a little, because we drew this to scale, appropriate scale. I know that's where the charging handle is. That's why I'm putting it in. This thing would be all the way over here somewhere, and so we're not going to do that. Plus, we need to emphasize that there's some sort of handguard here, even though your character isn't using it. And because I don't like the G3 stock, I'm just gonna imagine it's the MP5 stock, because at this point, that's what this is. Like, I know you wanted a G3, and you could say it's a G3 all you want, but it's way too small. Even if you wanted to force the perspective, just let it go. See, this is why I let the computer do the straight lines, because it doesn't matter, you will never do them right. You can only get close. Ah, fantastic. Great. Let's work on your character. Bing. Bing bong. Bing bong. Get some green in here. We're going to go with darker green so we don't confuse the two. Great. Alright. Let's change the opacity on this, because now we actually do want to concentrate on your character and not the gun. Right? That's the whole point of this. Literally 10 minutes left. I have to go out here shortly. Alright, it's cat. It's cat. It's kitty cat. Meow, 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 meow. Again, I'm gonna pretty much do that Mickey Mouse joke where they draw 3 lines and then all of a sudden Mickey Mouse pops up. I cannot teach you anatomy here. That will be up to you to figure out. Why am I adding detail to an area that you will never see in this sketch portion? And why were some of these lines important? Because they represent where things go in your artwork. So like the reason you put these triangles here is because this is where you can add cheek lines, and these are your emotion lines. Maybe he's really angry. Maybe he's surprised. But they will never extend out here. Cancel. What did I hit? Fat finger. Fat fucking fingers. The point of these triangles, which if you look at some of my artwork, I just left them on some characters. I don't like them. Alright? I left them there. But they also designate the corners of the eyes. And so if these lines here for the eyebrows, if he's angry, you're going to move them down, brow, and that way the eyebrows extend to wherever they are. Don't put them up high and then try to have them angry. You can, if you're stylizing a character where they have a really high forehead and then these can be exaggerated out, but if you're just keeping things down, and so you're gonna use these structural lines. Notice I'm not doing the other eye. You can't see it. There's no reason to draw it other than my own personal knowledge as to where the side of the head is going to be. Again, this is where the structure comes in. All these points mean something when you draw your sketch lines, because that's where you're going to originate things from, so that they make sense. And there's your center line for that. Your cat ears are at the top of your emotion line, and they extend down to your bottom eye line. You don't need a second line here, but you could if you wanted. If you really wanted to nail down that stuff, great. I don't need to draw the chin because it's not going to be in the image. We don't need to worry about the neck because it's behind the rifle stock. What we do need to do is start worrying about anatomy, because even though we've designated where this shoulder should be, we haven't designated anything else. Is it important? Well, maybe not right now or ever, but shoulder blade, collarbone, all this is behind the rifle, bicep, keeping things super basic because I don't even know if he has a uniform on or anything. So are we going to cuff him up? Are you going to put a uniform on him? Some of this can go away behind the vagaries of costume. You know, is it a shirt or not? Right now, this guy is as naked as the day is born, because all we want to do is set up the anatomy. Hands are hard, but if we just keep things vague and we keep it into the blockiness, I saw you were having problems with hands, we don't need to worry about that. Okay, thumbs behind the thing. Great, we don't need to see the thumb because it's on the other side of the gun. Thingy goes in the trigger dinghy, like so. We put the bridge or knuckles, like so. We can fix up our lines. It's all by eye, right? And this is going behind the magazine, so we're never going to see it again. Knuckle, knuckle, knuckle. Get rid of this. Line, line, line. Great, we're just gonna hide shit back there. I don't need to see it again, neither do you. Alright, now let's angle this hand. Let's see your bridge. That's your knuckles. This is where we can exaggerate some things. Right? Thingy. We want this hand to be there. And thingy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. There's the rest of the wrist. Thumbs on the other side. We don't give a shit about it. We do not need to worry about the anatomy because it's behind here. And the most we're going to need is an arm like so. And we're just going to put this so we know where it is. We don't really give a shit for the light on that because we'll never see it again. Right? And then the most we want to do is know that there's rib cage. We're exaggerating. I moved my center line. See, this is what happens. Right here was the center line on the sketch. So this would be where center of the abs are. Great. We'll just say he's topless. Boom. Collarbone. Check. He's going to break his collarbone. That's fine. Neck. Great. Alright, now let's turn off that sketch. Let's turn off the rifle real quick. What do we got here? Let's clean this up so that we can do some inks. And by we, I mean you. Why do we draw the circle? Well, because sometimes we like to add in the top of the eye and the bottom of the eye, depending on the image. If you're really angry, you can add this line in, but we're not going to. It's only slightly angry. And again, none of this matters because it's behind the scope ring, and we're not going to see it. If he's worried, then we can do that, or we're just going to leave this be. This is for our own edification, clarification of where things would go if we were going to draw the other side of the face, but we're not because it's behind the scope and we'll never see it. Let's start tying things together. Bam. Now we have our sketch lines. Great. Now you can go crazy with detail on what you can see. Alright, there's no reason to add or fix any of this unless you want to. But like now you can start adding detail lines on the box magazine if that's what you want to do. If you really want to show off the details of the stock pins and things like that, this is where you're going to start doing that, because as of right now your drawing's finished, right? Like at this point it's just inking. So this is where you can come in and do all your final inks and make sure everything is nice and tidy. You can double check that all the little details are there. If that's what you want to do. You put all your pins in. This is where you can get deep into the weeds. And get crazy. And make sure that your character is drawn the way you want. And you can add all the little details at this point. But until you get to this point, there's no reason to go crazy and get distracted The nice thing about working on a computer is if you mess up, you can just come back in and fix the little things that may overlap that you were not clear about in your sketch. Now we can come in here and add the selector, not because this is where it goes, but because we have time now to figure out little detail stuff that we didn't have before when we were trying to. Whoop, whoop, see, fucked up already. Thinking. I don't like adding details anymore. I used to be all about them, and it consumed me in almost every picture. And catharsis aside, and completionism, to be able to know that I could. My black and white art was just cluttered, and it took me a long time to figure out that it wasn't important. Do it again. Magazine, and like I said, we can go crazy with the detail now. Now would be the time to worry about like the base plate and magazine lines, but like there's no reason to do any of this prior, because it's just going to confuse you as the artist. And now I should be using the computer, like I said before, for all these straight lines, because that's what computers are good for. Yeah. So. Fuck, I didn't do any of this. God, yeah, get started. Go away. I didn't do any of that. Anyhow. Just, yeah, like for sure, use the computer to do your straight lines where they're necessary. But I hope this helps. I really do. Your foundation is always going to be everything in your artwork. The details come on top of your foundation. If you don't do your foundation work, then yes, you're going to have these elbows out here for some reason, because you need to show it. You don't need to show it. It's behind things. You don't need to take a picture of yourself. If you need help with anatomy, use your cell phone to do so. This is what I would tell you to concentrate on. I hope it helps.